we have the power of partnership, but most importantly, we have the passion of making a difference in healthcare on the African continent through partnership. We couldn't do it. And I think none of us can do it alone. And none of us can do it ourselves. Every person who attended this symposium is passionate about health. It wasn't about what they're getting out, it's about what they're giving in. And all the work you do, whether it's in public sector or private sector, is making a difference to make the life expectancy in Africa go up. We want to have a productive, healthy, and a supercontinent that we can be proud of. And it can only be done one step at a time. When we are all together, we are stronger. So I want to keep the closing ceremony short, and I have three fantastic ministers who graced our occasion, and I want to just ask them to do a greeting. After that, we'll have a speech from Africa CDC and also from Dr. Sidibe before we talk about what's happening next. So first and foremost, I want to invite our sister and our neighbor from East Africa, Honorable Anifa Bangiana, State Minister for Health Uganda. Please give her a round of applause. Over to you, Anifa.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amit, and Your Excellencies in your different capacities, and the Managing Director HEB, Dr. Amit and the family, all our hosts and partners in the health sector, mindful of time, protocol observed. I'm pleased to be here as part of a family that has attended this symposium on the Africa Health Business. And I want to say that I bring warm greetings from the government of Uganda to each and everybody here. And we are very happy for the hospitality that was accorded to me and my team by the government of Kenya and everybody since our arrival. Well, we are very happy for the organizers. Thank you so much. And everything has been so relevant to us. What I take home, I'm sure all of you are taking home. I know we are not going back the way we entered this room. We are going back differently. When you look at your next neighbor, look at the neighbor and say, how are you going home? What are you taking home? We are very happy and grateful. There are so many challenges that we have gone through this day, and we are very happy that at least we have found some solutions. As I end, I think we need to see what should African countries do to strengthen their health systems. This is food for thought. Strengthen leadership and governance in health, quality improvement, strong collaboration and partnership with our private sector, whom I want all of us to thank for this symposium of today. And finally, we need to build manufacturing capacity for our health products. COVID-19 was an eye-opener, increase budgetary allocation towards the health sector, especially to ensure the women's health and advancement, and to see that together we can walk the talk and change the health of women, the health of everybody, to have a health continent, have health population, have health economic growth. I thank you so much. Thank you.
We also have a powerhouse who attended our symposium, and you know Nigeria is a powerhouse. Nobody can ignore Nigeria. I'm delighted to invite Honorable Adeleke Mamora, who is a good friend of AHB, to come and address us at this closing ceremony. Dr. Mamora, please come over.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Let me start on a note of appreciation to the organizers of this wonderful event. I think everyone here will agree that this is a very wonderful event. So I say congratulations to the organizers and facilitators. We're talking of women's health. The popular saying is that educate a woman, you educate the entire nation, isn't it? But I say invest in women's health, and you will have invested in the health security of the country. And it's also important to say that we talk of public sector, private sector, but I say without the public sector, there won't be. On the other side, without private sector, there won't be public sector. And the public sector cannot do it alone. That is why we need that partnership, which we are now trying to change into integration. The public sector is limited in resources, while the private sector has massive resources. So we need to leverage on that to get the best for our people. But finally, we have heard the word. But I urge you, including myself, not to be just hearers of the word, but doers of the word. Thank you very much.
I also want to recognize the presence of Honorable Ali Mohammed, Minister for Health, Somaliland. He's not with us now, but during the course of the day, he interacted with many of you. What was really amazing is when somebody talks about Somaliland, you think, oh, fragile state, difficult. And he was here requesting partnerships to move the needle for healthcare for his people. I want to give him a round of applause, special, honestly. It's those fragile state countries, when the ministers come out, they're going to make an impact. So, thank you. Let me now move to the next speaker. If we can move the slide. We have the son of the soil, as they call him. And it was important that we call someone who's moving mountains in Africa as the son of the soil in Kenya to participate. He honored our invitation and has joined us today, Deputy Director of Africa CDC, Dr. Ahmed Ogwell. We are delighted to have you give us your address. Please welcome Ahmed.
Good evening, colleagues, and thank you very much, Amit, for that introduction. It's sometimes very difficult to speak to private sector colleagues, because the perception out there is that private sector is out there to make as much money as possible. But being a perception, my message will be to the private sector that let's work on a sustainability message rather than a profit message. Because that market is, for those of us in the public sector, that market is also our constituency. And we want the market, that for you, the market, and for us, our constituency, to be as healthy for as long as possible. So we need to change the perception of profit, and we start talking about sustainability of our constituency. So this is part of the reason, apart from the fact that this soil is a part of me and I'm part of it, the message that I wanted to give. But let me say two things. One is, you've heard that Africa CDC, Africa Union, has been championing a new public health order. And my colleague in the morning today did touch on that a bit. I just want to expand on two pillars of the public health order in relation to what we have here today as a topic for this symposium. The four pillars are: one is strengthening our institutions on the continent, and that will easily include the private sectors on the continent. Second pillar is strengthening our health workforce on the continent. And this for us is very important, especially in relation to today's discussion, because the majority of health workforce on this continent are women. Well, the leadership is not, but the majority of health workers on the continent are women. So when we are pushing the agenda for strengthening the health workforce, what we are saying is we need to strengthen the ability, capability, and capacity of our women on the continent to do more for healthcare and for health in general. The third pillar is local manufacturing. And this needs a 2, 3, 4 day symposium where it's only me speaking, because it's a topic that is very close to our heart at Africa CDC. But I'll not touch on that, I'll touch on the last one, which is partnerships. And the partnerships that we envisage under the new public health order as Africa CDC is one that is based on the priorities of Africa. However many billions you may have, and I'm talking dollars, not shillings, if it is not a priority for this continent, we are not interested in it, because it will mean we are serving someone else's interests and not our interests. So any partnership that comes must be based on the priority of the continent. The second thing around partnership is that the partnerships we need to envisage is not the partnership of Foundation X and Company Y from another part of the world, but we need to start with partnerships here, locally, where domestic financing and resources are the ones that are put on the table first before any other will be able to come. If you invest in yourself, then support can only be able to support that which you're investing in. If you don't invest yourself, then someone else's resources will be able to carry their priorities and not your own. So our partnerships need to be domestic first before it goes beyond the border. And for us at Africa CDC, domestic is the whole continent. And if we build proper partnership on this continent, we are going to be able to handle the disease threats that come, the gaps in our healthcare system that we have, and indeed the huge gaps that we have in the manufacturing of health products here on the continent. So I urge you, as a private sector, that it is time that you aligned completely with the new public health order that the Africa Union is championing, because it will mean you will secure the 1.3, soon to be 1.5 billion people market that this continent is offering for you. I thank you.
I think the trust is building between they're genuine private sector players and genuine forward-looking public sector leaders. And together, I think we can make this happen. And you cleverly talked about partnership. I really like your philosophy of new public health order. And on behalf of all of us, I think we should give Africa CDC a round of applause for that. And, you know, to you and your team, you have all our support. I'm delighted that Honorable Ali Mohammed is with us. Honorable Ali Mohammed, we thanked you earlier, and we said how you were, I'm sure you were also meeting some people before you came and talking about how to change health in Somaliland. So we have just been saying a brief word and really thanking. So we want to invite you to just make a 1 minute, 2 minute comment from your side so we can hear your voice during this closing ceremony. Please welcome Honorable Ali Mohammed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, dignitaries, participants, and everybody who put energy and effort in making this valuable event and made it a success. For me, it's a special honor to be here to participate in this important venue. I'm exposed to a number of institutions, organizations, people whom I would hope will have a very continued relationship in the future. We have met so many things we need, so many people we want to meet, we would have wanted to meet earlier, but it happened to be today and last night that we get exposed to these very important and valuable people. from where I came, I think we are not a low-income country, but I think low plus income country. And everything is rudimentary, very basic, and we are coming from the ashes. 30 years ago, where I'm living now, there was no running water, there was no hotels and restaurants that decent hotels and restaurants that anyone who comes and visit would hardly, leave it in the place. Things have changed and progressing. There's a quite valuable and important development that has been made during that course of time. Everything is slowly and gradually picking up. That includes the health services and health service delivery. I'm just a few months in this ministry. I was the Minister of Livestock and Fisheries Development in the past. And then I was Minister of Planning and National Development. And in September last year, I was placed in this ministry. The few times I was in the ministry, I have explored that we have still a long way to go in terms of capacity building, equipment, and the know-how. We are very happy to learn from our neighbors, from our friends. We thank especially to Ethiopia, which actually gives us the largest scholarships, free scholarships, and also some partial scholarships in which we have to come up with the other part. We also thank for these international organizations, WHO, UNICEF, Save the Children, who invest quite a lot in our health. We have a very, small budget, and we cannot actually service all the requirements, health requirements from our budget. Much of it is actually taken care of these organizations, and I commend the work they do in my country. I would like to continue connecting to the people I have learned since last night, and it was an honor, an opportunity for me to take this relationship further. Women and family are the basic priorities in our national development plan, as well as aligning with the development goals. Mother is when our Prophet Muhammad was asked who best you can actually treat well, then he said mother, and then was asked, and then he said mother, and then for the third time, and then he said mother, and then he said father. So mother is actually the heart of our society. Any manifestations which is contrary to this is human-made. It's not religious anyway. So this is actually the reality we believe in, and we have a very large department which is responsible for this, and I would like all of you here to look into how best you can assist us. We are a market, but we are a very weak market, so if you want to sell, commodities from us, it's also important that you look for potential funders of that commodities. So I will be very happy meeting you again, and I would like to see, as I said last night, that this kind of symposium should go around the continent so that a lot of people get exposed to it. Having said this, I would like to thank you, and I'm very much honored again to say that I have been here for this particular and important symposium. Thank you very much.
You know, if there is an optimist in the health sector, there's one guy who's coming in next. Let me invite my brother, Dr. Michel Sidibe, who is the Africa Union Special Envoy for Africa Medical Agency. By the way, thank you for traveling, coming over, and I know you have all positive things to say in the health sector. Please welcome Michel.
Thank you. Thanks. Let me start by saying thanks for inviting me and to have a chance to interact with you during those 2 days. My colleagues, ministers, friends, and of course participants, I hope you all enjoy it. What I want just to ask you, to really beg you, is to give a big round of applause to Amit and his team for excellent, successful, high-level meeting. I think the subject you have been asking me to deal with in this closing session is timely and topical. I want to really say that. Let me start by saying from the outset of this important closing session that the primary health care, which is, by the way, the base for the entire health care system, and therefore a key element for building a system with equity, system which help advance women's health in Africa, is unfortunately today fragmented, inaccessible, and time and money consuming. Instead of it becoming a right for every human, it's slowly withering away so that people try to access tertiary levels of health care for what should have been available near home and as a right. We need to put the basics back in place. People need health care, and the basic step of that is to put a proper primary health care system in place, which is universal, free, and sustainable. You cannot build a house without a foundation. You cannot build a healthy society without a robust health care system. So what we can do? I learned a lot during these 2 days. We should build a digital infrastructure for health. That's what I learned since yesterday and this morning. Africa cannot follow the traditional model of building a brick and a mortar infrastructure, but needs to leapfrog by investing in building a digital infrastructure for health. This provides an opportunity for Africa to build a wide infrastructure to meet the needs of primary health care, and at the same time invest and consolidate secondary and tertiary physical infrastructure to meet the needs of Africa. This can be done on a speed and scale that was unthinkable with the traditional physical infrastructure model, but also this can be achieved at substantially lower cost upfront, as well as leverage several technologies that digital health offers to improve quality. We should leverage emerging technology, what I saw this morning. During my time at UNAIDS, we set up the Health Innovation Exchange, which worked closely with a Chinese startup that had developed the use of artificial intelligence for screening for tuberculosis. In several countries, we don't have a sufficient radiologists. The artificial intelligence could help address this gap and improve diagnosis, while reducing the burden on the limited healthcare workers we have. Similarly, we work closely with a blended medical school that can set up a medical school to train future doctors and nurses, unlike a traditional medical school which costs anywhere between $50 to $100 million to set up and 5 to 8 years to be ready. The blended medical school could be set up at an investment of less than $10 million and could be up and training its first batch of nurses and doctors in less than 6 months with the same quality as the traditional medical schools. We can also use development in technology to rapidly transform the local production of drug and diagnostics. There are several technologies available today that will be transformative from the use of artificial intelligence to digital-enabled health workers at the community level and point-of-care diagnosis. We can build the next generation of digital health workers who can provide primary care and call in real time specialists, including where needed. With 1.3 billion people, Africa cannot and must not be left out of the vaccine, medicines, and therapeutic production conversation. The African pharmaceutical sector is expected to grow from 19 billion in 2012 to 66 billion by the end of 2022, the fastest growing in the world. The health and wellness sector is projected to be worth around 250 billion by 2030. The current reliance on donor funding for health is not viable. We need to strengthen the partnership with the private sector and encourage and incentivize investment. Let me remind you that of the total investment that went into health technologies and innovation in 2021, less than 0.2% of it went to Africa. This is not acceptable, and I think this fora will help us to change this situation. And it will be real only if we create a new model for sustainable businesses. Today, we may be in position to bring together diverse technology from the entire spectrum of internet. I saw it this morning, artificial intelligence, including Internet of Things, telemedicine, image and natural language processing, blockchains, solid state immunology. I think all of that become progressively a reality. And I want to just take again the advantage of being here to say thanks to you, thanks for the organizer, and I've been learning a lot, and the only things I want you also to take with you, all these things will be a reality if we are able also to make African medicine a reality. Without the African Medicine Agency being established, we will never have, I can tell you honestly, the opportunity to transfer competencies, technology. We will not Africanize research and development when we will not be able in the future to have those hub of excellencies which will make a difference in the price of our medicine, accessibility of our medicine and other therapeutics. And today, Africa is producing only 3% of the medicine we are consuming, less than 1% of the vaccine we are consuming. And I think we have a huge opportunity to change that, to govern, and you're starting that already. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think the time we've given to all the speakers is not enough, to be honest. And I don't think it's a matter of time. I think it's action. And all of these speakers who came here are true champions of action. So wish you all the best. Your messages have been very powerful. It wouldn't be right if I didn't invite the private sector leader and champion in Kenya to thank you and to give you his message before we officially close the session. Let me invite Dr. Gakombe now to give you his statement. Dr. Gakombe, welcome.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, honorable ministers, guests who are here for the first time, sponsors, participants. Mine is but a simple task to thank you for doing what you've done to make this event the great success it has been, and address you with an acute sense of history, because these are the kind of moments that our founding fathers across Africa envisaged when they looked at the possibility of one Africa, working together, networked, open to the world, and working with everyone else across the world to make the lives of our people better. When I see my sister from Liberia, our brother from Somaliland, I see hope that indeed that day that was envisaged at the founding of modern Africa will come to pass in my lifetime. Secondly, Kenya is open for business. And it's indeed great that the remarks about digital health have happened right here, because you are in the Silicon Savannah, the home of M-Pesa, the place where we want to make healthcare digital. And those remarks are something we'll take home to encourage us to continue to pursue our digital health strategies and be an example to the rest of not just Africa, but the world. Thirdly, at the founding of our continent, at the founding of modern Africa, at independence, most countries had a manifesto that said, we are going to kick poverty, ignorance, and disease from our countries. We got derailed at some point. Life became very difficult, especially in the 80s with the structural adjustment program. This says we are back on track to deal especially with the pillar of health, because if people are healthy, then they can deal with poverty and they can deal with ignorance. So ours is the most important and most strategic pillar. As a Kenya private sector, we have an apex body called the Kenya Private Sector Alliance. Below that, we have the Kenya Healthcare Federation, and below that, we have sector associations. And HB is a proud and respected member of the Kenya Healthcare Federation. We respect and honor the fact that they are flying our flag across Africa. And I think we should lend UKQ's tagline, the pride of Africa, as, healthcare pillar. Because we are indeed very proud of what Amit is trying to do, which is to network both Kenya and the rest of Africa to use our collective strength and capacity to build a better health system for our people. And for a continent where resources are scarce, we cannot afford to say government, private sector, non-government. We have to have an all-of-society response. And this is not a new thing. That's how our ancestors dealt with issues. There was no government and opposition. There was no NGO. It was an all-of-society response, building the continent, looking after families as a collective effort. And this is what we hope to be able to achieve with HB and the rest of us working across the continent to make sure that as a village, we are raising our people. Finally, the choice of women's health and the later to fall men's health is very African. And it's actually very human, because all societies would work to protect their women and children first. Because there was recognition that if your women and your children were taken into slavery or captive, you ceased to exist as a society. So the biggest job every society focused on was to protect its men, its women and children. And this is apt because after the women, there will be men. And therefore, it is very, very, very well aligned with the way we organize things right across the African continent. So on behalf of the Pan-Africanists, on behalf of the Kenya private sector, on behalf of AHB, I wish to thank you very, very much for your participation, for your contribution, and I hope that we go forward to learn, to take the lessons of today into our daily work and to continue to build a much stronger Africa as far as health is concerned. Asanteni.
Thank you so much. You may take your seats. And as we continue, I would like to thank all the people that you see on the screen there. Without them, none of us would have been able to discuss the women's agenda at this symposium. So let me thank all the people that you see on this screen. These are private sector organizations. Some of them are NGOs. There are some institutionals, health institutions, and many of them are also Kenyan companies who are sponsoring us to be here. Let's give a round of applause to those companies. Local companies who may not have business outside Africa. In addition to them, we had strategic partners. They were non-financial partners, but they did great. We had Africa Healthcare Federation, we had ASLM, we had American Chamber of Commerce, we had Business Island, and many other partners and media partners who made this event possible. And if I continue acknowledging the partners, next. Let me talk about the calendar. It doesn't end here. So throughout the whole year, you can see what we're doing. So save the date. If any one of you is interested in any one of these, we are away in April. We're doing something in May. We will be in Addis Ababa in June. And we will have a webinar. So we have a trip to Johannesburg and Addis in the first half of the year. We also are taking this to Tunisia, where there is TCAT happening in the month of November. And then finally, as Dr. Gakombe and Daniela officially revealed, we're going to have the men's health. First, we look after women and children. And then we have to also look after the men. So please save the date. We would invite all of you to join us for men's health. And we need to talk really serious about the impact it's going to have. So this is going to take place on the 24th of November. Venue to be decided. Maybe Honorable Ali, we come there. Maybe you might be able to host us. But we are going to decide the venue, which then would be, depending on also how the variant and the virus behaves. I hope it is safer and safer for us to travel. And then we will find one country in Africa to host the men's event. Finally, I'd like the team that has put this together. Can you please be upstanding? All AHB team members, can you please be upstanding? All the staff. Without the AHB staff, this wouldn't have happened. They've put a lot of effort in there. And then the guys who gave us sound, light, they had to deal with all fluctuations, power, but we got cameras on. You made the people online also participate in the women's health agenda. You gave us bright projections everywhere possible. You even brought TVs so that we could see them, even if we're on first floor or second floor. Mwanzia and Mwanzia, the two brothers, could you stand up? Here they are. And the entire team, the arts group, please be upstanding. Because this technology, thank you guys. You guys were great. And I want to thank Trademark Hotel for all their services, all the people who served us for dinner, for lunch, plated. It's not an easy task, but I think Trademark did a good job. Wouldn't you agree? They fed us well. I think that's how it is. Before I invite you to the men's health and details about that, you are all invited for dinner that's taking place on the first floor. There are two business dinners. One is by Organon, and one is Connexi. Those of you who might be interested in those kind of dialogues, please see our team and they'll coordinate with you. See you on 24th November. Thank you so much. Kwaheri, travel safely, and we'll see you at the next event. Bye for now.